and capital gains arrangements. There is a growing consensus amongst the investment community as well that the concessionary arrangements on capital gains and the way negative gearing operates, which is one of the most generous arrangements in the developed
Cassandra,
world,
I'm going to interrupt you there because we have got a question.
Cassandra,
I'm not trying to interrupt you, except that we've got a question on this subject, so we'll go to that, then we'll hear other people on it. It's from Claire Green.
My question is, why is negative gearing on investment property treated as a sacred cow by both parties? This is an obvious area for reform, given our fiscal situation and the recommendations of several leading inquiries and experts. Does our federal politicians' reluctance to address this issue have anything to do with the fact that parliamentarians own an average of 2.5 properties each?
I'm going to go to Chris Byrne first.
Well, I can only speak for myself and say I own less than one with a mortgage that's on it, so I don't own 2.5. I will deal with it. I just want to deal briefly as well with the question about super, and then I want to deal with your issue. Super for housing is a really bad idea for 3 reasons. Firstly, if you turn up at an auction with $20,000 or $30,000 from your super in your pocket, guess what? The other person in the auction's got the same. And you're just going to bid against each other with your retirement incomes, and the only person who wins is the person selling the house who pockets an extra $30,000. Thank you very much. In the meantime, you've eaten away at the start of your retirement income and you've cost the federal budget by this decision. So it's a really bad idea, a really, really bad idea.
Negative gearing.
Negative gearing. Look, what we're doing is going through a process at the moment of looking at housing affordability, looking at the pressures on the budget and consulting, and looking at what the situation should be going forward. So what I would say to you is I'm not going to tonight announce a policy or start ruling things in or out in relation to this. I don't think either side...
But is negative gearing in your sights, along with the capital gains tax arrangements, which Cassandra Goldie was just talking about, which together are driving the housing investment boom beyond what anyone might have imagined?
Well, Tony, I seem to recall you asking me exactly that same question on Late Line last year, and I'll give you the same answer because the situation hasn't changed, is that we're going through developing our policies. It would be irresponsible for me tonight to start ruling things like that in or out. I don't think either side of politics is going to abolish negative gearing tomorrow because it is...
You don't have to abolish it, you can phase it out.
Well, what I am saying is that it's a proper discussion for the nation to have because there is a housing affordability real problem in Australia and we need to look at all the options on the table.
Let's hear from the Treasurer on the negative gearing question, and is it a fact that one of the problems here is that politicians own too many houses and they're reluctant to give this away? This entitlement?
No, that's a bit of a cheap shot. I think the main point is, well, it is. I mean, let's be fair dinkum. The main argument...
It was actually a question rather than a cheap shot. So obviously that's a perception from someone in the audience.
Well, halfway through the question, I heard a bang, and I'll just say to you that
really? Could you explain that?
The main issue about negative gearing is this. If you abolish negative gearing on investment properties, there's a strong argument that rents would increase. Because, you know, rents, when Bob Hawke actually did it in the 80s, there was immediately a backlash because all of a sudden, people that owned properties who were offsetting the losses on the property against their primary income needed to get enough income out of that property that would then replace the lost income. Offsets. So the net result was you saw a surge in rents, and the people who are paying rents are usually, not always, but usually, people that can't afford, in many cases, to buy their own home. Can
I just make the point you're making an historical point here.
No, I'll make it. Well,
and the thing is that history changed when you halved capital gains tax during the Howard era, and so the combination of capital gains tax incentives and negative gearing are driving an investment boom beyond what anyone imagined.
But go back a sec. The negative gearing, if you know, Saul Estlake and people like that have an alternate view, right, which is fine, but if you could see some evidence to say that you would not see any increase in rents if you abolish negative gearing, there might be a more compelling case. But I don't see that, right? In relation to capital gains, sorry, hang on. Capital gains tax. Yeah. Well, I mean,
the good news, Treasurer, is there's lots of evidence already, provided that the policy class doesn't exclusively come from Sydney. Because it is absolutely true that when negative gearing disappeared between 85 and 87, rents went up really fast in Sydney, which may well have been because there wasn't a lot of housing being built in Sydney in a couple of years previously. Because what happened in the same time between 85 and 87, it was a national policy. You know, you look beyond Sydney and the answer is, well, rents were dead, you know, barely moved in Brisbane, didn't go up very far in Melbourne, didn't go up very far in Adelaide. They did go up very fast in Perth, which makes you suspect very strongly that that race memory we have of abolish negative gearing, rents will go up, is a race memory built on Sydney. But it didn't happen in most of the rest of the country. And that's not surprising because economic theory would tell you that if you abolish negative gearing, then by definition what happens at the auction is that the investor doesn't win the auction, but someone who wants to live in the house does. Net impact, there is one less renter and there is one less rental property. Net impact on the rental market, zero. And so that's what economic theory would tell you.
Now we've got to go back. We together, and I apologise for this, together we did interrupt your flow and you're about to talk about capital gains tax.
Well, the second issue is that yields are very low at the moment, right? And in a low yield environment, you're going to see people pour their money into real estate, which is traditionally lower yield compared to equities and a range of other investments, if you exclude capital gains. Now, one of the reasons why capital gains tax was cut was so that we could compete with the rest of the world. The fundamental challenge Australia faces, the big difference between now and the 1980s, is that money is mobile. I mean, an Australian can invest in shares anywhere in the world, they can put money in bank accounts anywhere in the world, unlike the 1980s. So with the mobility of money, we actually have to have tax rates that are also competitive. And we're not just competing against New Zealand with a top personal tax rate of 33%, or the UK, which has, you know, a company tax rate in the 20s, early 20s. We are competing against Singapore and Hong Kong.
And that is a segue, if I might say, to our next question, which is from Mike Yeldon.